Hello friends, I am the Parmigiana Playboy of the Australian Sporting Cartel, and today we're going to be talking everything the Newcastle Knights. The Newcastle Knights have been a major topic of conversation this season for the cartel, from their underperformances on the field, mismanagement, and just outright lacking in the culture that made the club successful at the turn of the century. In this video, we're going to unpack just where things have gone wrong and how I believe they can turn it around. Before we get into it, the cartel did do an episode of our podcast on this earlier this season, and you can check that out here. Now, things have been far worse for the Knights. In fact, it was only a decade ago that Wayne Bennett departed the Nathan Tinkler-owned Knights, only for them to earn 3 wooden spoons in a row, winning just 14 games during that period. So this isn't a worst case scenario by any means, but things are definitely not going the way the club, or more importantly, the fans would like. 2018 seen a marked improvement in the Knights, with the signings of veteran premiership winner half Mitchell Pearce and future Dahlia medal winner Kalen Ponga. But they didn't return to playing finals football until the 2020 season, which was the first under current coach Adam O'Brien. One of the premier clubs of the late 90s and early 2000s was on a trajectory to return them to not only the status of perennial contender, but ideally that elusive premiership, having not won since 2001. Fast forward to 2025, and not only have the Knights not won a premiership, they're not even contenders. Whilst they've made the finals in every season under O'Brien, barring 2022, they've been eliminated in week 1 every year, with 2023 being the exception. That's like attending the Mad Monday celebrations for your local footy club, being asked to be the designated driver. No hate to designated drivers, they're great, and every Aussie who's ever been pissed on a night out has probably used one. But not for Mad Mondays. We all know they're for getting fucked beyond common sense, and nobody wants to be there to make up the numbers. Unfortunately, that's exactly what the Knights have done under O'Brien. Yes, the Knights have made consistent appearances in September, but like I said, nobody wants to be there to make up the numbers. The Knights have a 1-4 record under O'Brien, with their only win being a 2-pointer against the Canberra Raiders. Whilst Penrith and Melbourne have dominated premierships and grand final appearances over the tenure of O'Brien, the Rabbitohs, Eels and Broncos all managed to make grand finals during this time. And if we're being honest, those teams have had their fair share of troubles, whether it's poor on-field results, off-field indiscretions, or multiple coaches. And in the Broncos' case, all 3 of those things. Yet they still managed to put it together to make the big game. If you'd like to hear what we think of the Broncos and their issues, you can watch our previous video here. So what's the Knights' excuse? Injuries? Teams have had catastrophic injury lists over the years, but have still managed to make the finals and be competitive. That comes with the territory, and your coach and his staff have to be prepared for that. Lack of talent? No fucking way. The Knights have had 8 Origin representatives under O'Brien, and a further 9 play State of Origin, either before or after their stint under him. So there's absolutely no debating the talent he's had to work with. And let's not forget, the saviour of Newcastle, the third John's brother, the West Australian-born Queensland Origin fullback, whose dream it is to rep the All Blacks at the Rugby World Cup, Kalen Ponga. He's been the highest paid player in the league for years, who many fans think haven't fulfilled his potential. Kalen has shown moments of brilliance throughout his career, thus far, but for most, he's been consistently inconsistent. So much so that the joke amongst some is that he tries his hardest 3 times a year in a Maroons jersey. Despite winning the Dahlia in 2023, Sean Johnson robbery, anyone?
A referee from Norway is the strongest official you can put down. This is supposed to be...
Kalen's time at Newcastle has left a lot to be desired, but is it entirely his fault? It's hard not to question whether under another coach, Kalen plays to his potential more than he has under O'Brien. It's a real shame we may never know. With O'Brien's contract due to end the same year as Ponga's, we could potentially see the prime of Ponga's career wasted under Adam O'Brien. The Newcastle board are under increasing pressure to remove O'Brien in favour of a more competent and proven coach. But there's a $2 million elephant in the room. $2 million. $2 million fucking dollars is owed to this completely average and subpar coach should the Knights cut him loose. The Knights clearly have a problem when negotiating contracts, more on that in a moment, but they aren't thinking about the other side. What is the cost to keep him? Financially, sure, crunch some numbers and see what happens. But numbers aside, look at what's actually happening to the club. You have the coach turn up at a press conference antagonising, complaining and insulting the very people who turn up every week to watch you, support you, after a thrilling Golden Point victory. Why? Because the fans booed them off the park at halftime. Could it be that the fans are sick and tired of a subpar coach with an underperforming star player shit the bed season after season? Could it be their attitudes that despite getting paid millions of dollars and loss after loss, their almost indifferent demeanour week after week leaves the impression that they're only there for the money? What about their star player, talking about how his dream is to play for another country in another sport? Maybe they'd like to hear Kalen talk about his dream of winning a title for the Knights faithful. The Newcastle board needs to wake up and do something before it's too late, and that they wish all it would take is to cut a cheque for $2 million. There is growing speculation that Ponga will move clubs, if not sports, at the end of his contract. Possibly even sooner. And if that happens, then most of the last 5 years would probably feel like a waste to Knights fans. This has always been a dark cloud over the Ponga Knights relationship, and they've had plenty of time to plan for ways to entice him to stay. They dangled that carrot earlier this year when they signed Dylan Brown to a 10-year, $13 million contract. In what is a contender for worst contract in NRL history, this is the Knights' fix. A guy that if he doesn't have Mitch Moses around him looks lost on a footy field. The Knights have some incredible young talent in their ranks. Bradman Best, Dylan Lucas, Fletcher Sharp, as well as some great veteran forwards in Tyson Frizzell and Daniel Saifiti. But what's been missing is an elite, consistent playmaker. Dally Cherry Evans, Adam Reynolds, Luke Keary, Ben Hunt. All of these guys were either available within the last 12 months or pending free agents. Instead, the Knights go the other way. And despite the upside of Brown having more footy in front of him behind him, they've taken a massive risk that most think will fail. For reference, Dylan Brown and Kalen Ponga will take up approximately 24% of the Knights' salary cap alone for the 2026-2027 season. So, that begs the question, what could and should the Knights do to try and turn this around to become real, legitimate contenders again? Well, it's probably super fucking obvious, but sack Adam O'Brien, pay him the $2 million, and write the fucking thing off as a charitable donation. I get it. It's real easy to sit here and say, sack O'Brien, but who do they replace him with? For me, there's two names that the Knights have to look at. Brad Arthur and Des Hasler. Now, I know that Desi is locked in at the Titans, but all signs point to them parting ways at the end of the season. So the Knights should get ahead of any other potential suitors and be the first to chat to him should this happen. Des's resume speaks for itself. He's got 5 grand finals and 2 wins. Throw in a couple of court cases and this Riley veteran is exactly what the Knights need to lead them into the next decade. Des is in his mid-60s and he could potentially retire. If not, this could very well be his last gig. So he'd want to go out successfully and he's going to be motivated to win. This is something the Knights absolutely need. He's also coached 2 of the best fullbacks in the NRL era, both of whom played well beyond their potential. Again, something the Knights desperately need. If not Des, then Brad Arthur, BA. One of the most disrespected coaches of the NRL the last decade. What he did for Parramatta was nothing short of phenomenal. Salary cap issues, NFL dreams, criminals, and a contender for the worst board of all time. The guy made a grand final and was consistently performing despite having his back against the wall. Brad has made it pretty clear that he wants to return to the NRL and as of now has yet to re-sign with his current club Leeds. Missing out on the Perth Bears job means he's one of the best options out there if an NRL club is looking for a new coach. He built his career on being able to manage superstar players that are going through rebuilds. So before the Knights get to that point, they should look at someone who's come out the other side. Kalen Ponga. After they've made up their minds about the coach, the first thing they need to do is sit down with everyone's favourite West Australian-born Queensland Maroon All Black and put it to him. Do you want to be here? You're either all in or you're all out. If he's out, move him ASAP. Try and get something for him. And I don't mean a shared contract like they did with Dom Young. I mean trade him for 1 or 2 players that could actually help you right here and now. Plenty of teams would be in for Ponga, even if it meant he was gone after 2027. He may be able to help them win a title, so he's got loads of trade value. If he's in, great. Make sure he's happy and all the noise is sorted and get back to playing the absolute best football he can. But don't leave it up to him. Take control and show the other 29 players on your roster that we're a team, we win together, and we lose together. Finally, the culture. The Newcastle Knights need to bring some of the old boys back into the fold to instill in the current generation of players what it means to play for the Knights. Paul Harrigan, Adam McDougall, Kurt Gidley, Matthew and Andrew Johns, all the old boys. Get as many of these guys back into the club as you can on a consistent basis. Whether it's part of the coaching staff as an assistant, part of the board, or in some kind of kumbaya leadership group. These are guys that are adored by fans for what they did for the club. Inject some of that passion back into the team so your fans don't boo you and you get back to playing contender level football. Whether the Knights do any of this will remain to be seen, but if they don't do something soon, this could lead to another dark, unsuccessful period for the club. What do you guys think? Is it as bad as we think here at the Cartel for Newcastle? What do you suggest they do to turn this shit show around? Let us know in the comments and what you thought of this video. To listen to the Australian Sporting Cartel podcast, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Like, subscribe, and follow for more rugby league, Premier League, and sporting content.